Hello people, back again. We are at Simon's Detail here in Chicago. I am Chris Racana, Director of Success with Dr. Beasley's, and today we have a 2021 Hellcat Durango. So just give you a little insight onto this bad boy. 6.2 liter V8, 710 horsepower, 546 foot-pounds of torque. We're talking a 3.6 second 0 to 60 time with a 12-second quarter mile. All these numbers with 3 rows and a towing capacity of 8,600 pounds. So it is all sorts of ridiculous. I mean, do you need a vehicle like this? No, no one needs a vehicle like this. But do you want one? Of course we do. So anyway, here we are looking at this Hellcat, and our goal today is simple. We are talking about protection. Not perfection, but protection. The reason is, this is actually going to be a feature car of our spring 2022 Future of Detailing clinic that takes place here at Dr. Beasley's in Chicago. However, we have about 5 months to go before we get there. Never mind that we have to get through a Chicago winter. So this is a daily driver, so we need to get some protection on this daily driver so we can get it to the Future of Detailing safely, at which point we will dial in that paint and then we'll throw on some Nano Resin Pro so this customer can see some honest, true candy gloss to get this violet of this in-violet color to really pop. So it starts looking a little bit more violet and a little less black. So what we're going to do here is a simple decontamination, but without any mechanical tools. So that means no clay, no buffers. We're simply going to do a wash. We're going to decontaminate the paint so we can get enough, as much of the contaminants off the paint as we can. And then we're going to put on a simple 1-year coating to give us the hydrophobicity and the contaminant resistance that we need to be able to get through a Chicago winter with our salt-encrusted streets and just general horrible weather conditions that we have around here. So let's get started and get this bad boy cleaned up and prepped for winter. So we are aiming to show you how efficient this process can be. Through well-versed SOPs, our crew at Simon's Detail handled this service right here in the wash prep line. No trip to the clean room means we are saving time, and saving time is saving money. So, as usual, it's always least aggressive to most aggressive. So you notice the guy started with a simple rinse. What is the least aggressive thing we can do? It is rinse the car off. Now we're going to go ahead and foam the car up. So of course we're using our Dr. Beasley's Premium Body Wash. And you're going to notice we're going to give this plenty of dwell time on the surface. Of course, when we let the foam dwell, we are allowing it to break down the contaminants on the surface. That's the name of the game. So we really want this foam to sit on the surface and allow it to break down the contaminants. So what you're going to notice now, again, it's all about SOPs, standard operating procedures. So as we allow the foam to dwell on the surface and break down contaminants, you're going to see Jose and Christian are hitting the wheels and addressing those areas that require a little bit more elbow grease to get through and get clean. All right, guys, so now that we've let our dwell time, we've addressed the kind of those more difficult, highly contaminated areas with the pressure washer around the wheels and on the front of the car with that paint safe bug sponge. Now we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna rinse the Durango off again. We're gonna refoam it, and that's where we're gonna break out the wash mitts and agitate. So I do want to make a note of one thing here. You'll see that we are rinsing the car off now, and really we've touched the paint as minimally as humanly possible. And the point of that is the less we touch the paint, the better for it. Plus, generally, if there are larger loose contaminants on the paint, if we can get them off without touching it, well, that's all the better. So that way we're not grabbing them with our wash pads and rubbing them all over the car. So that's why we're gonna go ahead here and we're gonna refoam the whole car, and then we're gonna bring in the pads to agitate. So here you see in our process as we are agitating and washing, note that we are grabbing a fresh wash pad for not only this car, but each and every vehicle that comes through the wash line. We wash and launder every single wash pad after every single use. They are never reused. Again, this way ensuring that we have little or zero cross-contamination from our pads. I also want to point out here, notice the teamwork. Again, this is where you find where your SOPs pay off. Again, these are standard operating procedures. They're well rehearsed and they're tight. These guys know what the other one is doing. The left hand always knows what the right hand is doing. So it is a team effort to move through the vehicle in a thorough yet still time efficient process. So again, here starts our rinsing process. As always, top down, because that's what makes sense. When you're cleaning and dealing with soaps and cleansers, sure, we're dealing in top down. But remember, if it's a chemical, it's always bottom up. But when we're washing and rinsing the car, it's always top down. Now we're going to go take a closer look here in a minute, but let's observe how the water is acting on the surface of this Hellcat Durango. And you're going to see it's not exactly displaying a great deal of hydrophobicity. You're seeing a lot of this water still sticking to the surface. I mean, really, it's moving off a little bit, but I mean, it's painfully obvious that we need to address this and get some hydrophobicity there. But of course, you know, if we're going to put a coating on, we need to make sure that the surface is free of contaminants, because what are contaminants going to do? They're going to hinder adhesion of that ceramic coating. So, not typically part of SOPs here at Simons, but I'm going to jump in here real quick and just give it the old Baggie test. And painfully obvious. You know, I mean, it feels great when I put my finger. Actually, feels okay with my fingers. I feel some grit in there, but I do the Baggie test and you got all sorts of grit. So there is no doubt about it that we have contaminants here. We need to get those off. So what are we going to do? Total decon is our next step. So again, this is our way to cleanse the paint without mechanical means. We're going to do it through chemical means. So this is the next step we're going to see here with Jose and Christian. So you'll notice that we don't stick our guys with little 12-ounce retail bottles of Total Decon. We give them a little bit higher-end firepower to be able to disperse the Total Decon all over the car. But again, this basically serves as like a chemical clay. I mean, what's the point of a clay? A clay is to remove surface contaminants from your paint. However, when you clay, you also induce micro-marring. So that's why when you clay a car, you typically follow it up with a paint correction step. Again, showing you this process is about showing you an efficient way to get protection on a car, but avoiding any sort of mechanical means of cleaning the paint. So this translates, one, to the professional detailer who needs to do this in a time-efficient manner, but this also translates to the enthusiast who wants to do this at home, who might not have the skill level or the tools to be able to perform a clay or a paint correction with a mechanical buffer. So we're going to let the decon dwell, usually a minute, 2 minutes. The most important thing here is we do not want it drying on the surface. If you see it start to dry up in any areas, of course, we just come back and re-emulsify to keep it activated and keep it breaking down those contaminants. All right, so we've given the Total Decon dwell time to break down the contaminants, and now we're going to come back and rinse it off. Now, if you're at home and you wanted to be a little bit more thorough, you could certainly go and wipe the entire vehicle down after applying your Total Decon. But again, we're looking at this as a little bit more professional setting where time is of the essence. And plus, we know that we're following this step with a coating application. And the coating that we're using is a wet application coating. It's our Formula 1201. So again, when you're doing this professionally, it's about creating efficiencies. So being that we are following the decontamination step with a wet application coating, we might as well just leave the car wet. If we were going to follow it with a dry application coating, we would have then taken off the Total Decon with our microfibers. Now, something you guys can see here pretty interesting. You know, we're seeing some more water getting pushed off here. than we did after we washed the car. So what that's telling me is we got off a lot of those contaminants that were on the surface, because it's the contaminants that are going to hold the water on the surface. And you saw after we rinsed it after the wash, this whole hood, the water was glued to it. So now it's already pushing off some water, and if I do the Baggie test, I get significantly better results. I mean, is it perfect? No, it's not perfect, but that is not the intention of this service today. Again, we are here for protection, not perfection. We want to get through the winter, and then we will deal with perfection when we get this thing back here next spring. So, what we follow up this step with is now the coating step. Here we're talking Formula 1201. Formula 1201 is a wet application. That means it's a fast application. You can move through 1201 very quickly. You're going to see how we do it here. I mean, you can do it crosshatch style, or you can go Mr. Miyagi style. You go old school like the Magic Man Christian here is doing. And what you're going to see here, that this is an instant bonding coating. So as soon as they're laying it down, I'm seeing water beads here, and I'm seeing it start to reject the water off the surface. And you see the beads here that the 1201 is pushing away from the surface. So again, efficiency here. We can get through this entire car much more quickly than we could on a traditional dry application. You also have an extremely long working time. This is not an application that you're going to be chasing after the flash, where you get through a third of a panel and you got to get back and get your buff off in, or else you're in trouble. No, with the Formula 1201, you can see we've covered the hood, we're already onto the front bumper cover, and we're able to move through multiple panels, all while laying down a ceramic coating that's going to last us up to 1 year. So Formula 1201, as you're seeing here, when it comes to a professional detailer, this fits perfectly into the more production style coating, where you need to fit this into a process that is highly efficient, but also provides great value for your customer. The other thing you're going to love as a professional is you'll notice that the guys are using a 4-ounce bottle. Typically, we'll use well under 1 ounce on an entire vehicle. So that means 4 ounces of Formula 1201 is going to get you 4 applications on your average passenger-sized vehicle. To the do-it-yourselfers out there, for you enthusiasts who just love taking care of their cars because you got a passion for the automotive world, you're going to love this coating because it is a stress-free application. It is a self-leveling coating. Again, you have that long working time. So there's, again, no need to chase that flash. And for you DIYers out there, the other thing that you're really going to appreciate is that you have a long fix time. So that means you get through the application process, you buff it off, you pull the car out into the sunlight, you're doing your final inspection, you miss a spot, you got a high spot. Well, no freaking out with Formula 1201. That's because with Formula 1201, you got a high spot, all you have to do is re-emulsify. That means you're just going to put a little bit more 1201 on your pad, you're going to move over that high spot, and then you're going to buff it off. And you have hours, several hours of that fixed time. Of course, that's going to vary depending on your particular geographic locale. Do keep in mind, it's a lot to do with humidity. The higher the humidity, the faster the coating is going to cure. The lower the humidity, the more arid the climate, the slower it's going to cure. And so that means more arid climates, longer work times, longer cure times. For more humid climates, you're going to have shorter working time and a shorter cure time. That's why we always give some basic rules of advice when it comes to any Dr. Beasley's coating. First of which is you always leave a coating 1 hour undisturbed. No matter which one of our coatings, you leave it, after you do your buff off, leave it alone 1 hour. You want to stack coatings, come back, put on a second layer on the hood or the front bumper or the mirror caps, great. Wait 1 hour. The other two things to remember when it comes to Dr. Beasley's coatings, we want to keep the car dry for 1 to 2 days after application. We want to get that cure time in, which is also why we don't want you washing it for 2 weeks. It could take up to 2 weeks for this coating to fully cure depending on the environment. So, like I said, more humid environments, that's going to be a shorter cure time. More arid climates, that's going to be a longer cure time, closer to that 2-week mark. So as you've seen here, Christian and Jose now have completely coated a 3-row SUV in right around 10 minutes. And now we're going to go for the buff off. And again, I want you to take notice of the teamwork that's happening here. Not only is this showing what happens when you have guys that have been with you for a long time and understand your standard operating procedures, but they know what the other guy is doing. They know this process. The left hand knows what the right hand is doing, and they get through it thoroughly and efficiently. And this is all based in SOPs. This is because it starts top down, from the owners to the managers, down to the employees. Strong leadership with written procedures. Now let's talk results of this Formula 1201 now that we're starting to see the fruits of Christian and Jose's labor. First of all, we're looking at a coating that has up to 1 year of durability. So, no problem for Formula 1201 to get this Hellcat Durango through a Chicago winter. You're also looking at quite impressive shine and slickness from a ceramic coating, which again took about 10 minutes for 2 professionals to lay down. So this is a fantastic service to offer more price-conscious clients. This is a great coating for those clients that you want to transition off wax and polymers and onto something a bit more contemporary. This is also a great service for newer cars that don't have a tremendous amount of contamination. You know, this Hellcat Durango was just delivered a couple months ago, so didn't have a lot of your usual contamination, you know, from a car that might be several years old. Also, to you mobile detailers out there, this is a must-have in your arsenal. Again, it's easy, it's forgiving, you can move through it quickly, and it performs well. The other thing I'm hoping that you enthusiasts and DIY detailers out there have learned from this is that you don't have to have a buffer, or you don't necessarily have to have the skills to use a buffer or a clay to ceramic coat your paint. You can get in the game with Formula 1201 and some total decon and move into technology that's at least from this century, as opposed to Carnauba and other paint protective technologies which are well over 30, 40 years old. As far as Total Decon, again, a great product for the DIYer. It's almost dipping your toe into the paint correction pond. I mean, yes, with the Total Decon, you're not actually removing any defects, but you are removing contaminants, which contaminants is what hinders ceramic coating. But then, back to the professionals out there. I hope that all you pros out there have learned that tight standard operating procedures, along with a entry-level ceramic coating, can really present a tremendous value for your customer while maintaining a healthy margin, which is what it's all about, right? That is the bottom line. So when it comes to using compressed air, especially after following an application at 1201, you know, we all love using compressed air, of course. The less you can touch the paint, the better for the paint. But there's another reason here that we're using compressed air. When you do use a wet application for a ceramic coating, that water that you're using to spread around, that water can carry that ceramic coating. So that means that water that's running down jams or in other little seams and creases could be carrying a coating. So if you don't address those spots, those little crevices and little, hidden areas, you could find yourself with high spots down the road. So again, that's why you'll find that Jose and Christian are being so very thorough when it comes to their blow off and dry. Because again, we want to ensure that we've removed all that ceramic coating, even that ceramic coating that was carried by the water into those jams and crevices. Oh, sorry. So again, we're here, you see Christian checking emblems with his inspection light, just again, making sure we don't have any residual water running out from any crevices or jams or seams. So as Jose and Christian are finishing up and doing their final inspection, I would like to show you guys something here to kind of illustrate our point of we're looking for protection, not perfection. So, and also as a sidebar, beware of the reflection photograph. Because you see, I got amazing shine. I can see my big fat mug right in the reflection of there. Woo, that's great. But again, we didn't do a paint correction here. So can I expect perfection? Absolutely not. We get an inspection light on there. And while not like swirled out horribly, there is plenty of towel marks and micro marring there, you know, from, I know this guy, he likes to use a California duster. He likes to dust his cars a little bit, which drives me insane, but you know, hey, it's his car, he can do whatever he wants with it. But again, we weren't coming in to get after this. It wasn't about perfection. It was about protection, okay? And so this is what you have to qualify your customer. What are your customers' wants and needs? Or if you're at home and you're doing this in your garage, what are your wants and needs? Do you just want to put some good gloss down and have some protection over the winter? This is a fantastic process for you. You want perfect paint? Well, guess what? We're breaking out a clay and we're breaking out a buffer and we're getting on the machines and we're doing that mechanically. But for a little more simple process, a little bit more efficient process, this could be the process for you. So I just want to check in, give you guys a little hint of what we do here at Simon's Detail and with the Dr. Beasley's products that we have available to us. And with that, I will thank you. And oh, I know, Dr. Beasley's products, like Formula 1201 or Total Decon, are always available at drbeasleys.com. And please do remember to like and subscribe. Victor and I work real hard to bring you guys this stuff. We want Jim to see lots of likes and subscribes, so he gives us the green light to do lots more cool content just like this. Thanks a lot, guys. We'll see you next time.